Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. In case you're new around here, I make videos about decluttering, minimalism, living with what is currently a 32 item wardrobe, and occasionally a little bit of personal finance. Today, it has been 374 days since I have purchased clothing, meaning that I have not purchased clothing for an entire year. And today I want to share my top takeaways from that experience. Now, before I get into it, I do want to acknowledge that this year was an anomaly. I, like many of you, have been working from home, not going on vacations, not having really any social interactions, and so the demands on my wardrobe have been low. In fact, for the first half of this time period, not shopping was kind of by accident, and then around May or so, I realized what was going on and decided to make it a challenge. I also don't shop a ton. I did a little forensics with my bank statements and figured out that over the 3 years prior to this year, I purchased a total of 18 items of clothing over those 3 years from 2017 to 2019. So I don't shop a ton. That said, not shopping has not been without effort, which was kind of surprising for somebody like me who doesn't shop that much. But there were a surprising number of behavioral changes that I needed to make in order to accomplish it, and I learned a ton along the way. So today I want to share with you my top takeaways from a year of not buying clothing. The first lesson that I've learned is that not shopping can feel like deprivation. It can actually be deprivation if we don't articulate what it is that we get as an alternative to shopping. Every time we make a purchasing decision, there is an opportunity cost, which is what we would get if we didn't make that decision or made a different decision. And when we don't purchase things, there is an implicit opportunity cost, but we're not always aware of it. So whatever your motivations are, I think it's really important to articulate them, write them down. For example, maybe you want to stop shopping so that you can save money to renovate your kitchen, or maybe you just spend a lot of time shopping so you want that time back to spend with your kids or your partner or your friends, or maybe you want to make more sustainable decisions. Whatever it is that is motivating you, articulate it, write it down, and if at all possible, measure it so you can see that balance, that offset of what it is that you get from not shopping. Now, for me, my motivating factor was saving money, because even though I don't spend a lot of money on clothing historically, getting myself out of that shopping mindset, kind of not allowing myself to see shopping as an option, helped me to develop a lot of other frugal habits, and that's enabled me and my husband to save a ton of money over this last year. So articulate your motivations, and if possible, measure it so that you can see that balance. That can be incredibly motivating to keep going. My next takeaway is to stop questing. Now, what do I mean by that? I've made a few videos in the past about shopping that I will link in the description down below in case you want to check them out. But if you've seen them, if you've followed my channel for a while, you probably know that now whenever I shop, I have a very specific shopping list. I tend to have a very clear idea in my head of what it is that I'm looking for, and I will scour stores and the internet hunting for that exact item. And in some ways, I think this has been a good behavior. It's kept me from making compulsive decisions or compromising and buying things that aren't exactly what I want. But on the other hand, much of the time, I can't find exactly what it is that I'm looking for, and I'll walk away empty-handed. And in hindsight, that's hours, perhaps days, maybe even longer, I don't want to think about it, of my life that I can't get back searching for an item that hasn't added any real material impact to my life or my happiness. Now, because I haven't been shopping, I have not really tested any alternatives to this or any kind of cues that I could implement to show myself that this is what I'm doing and trigger myself to stop. But time boxing seems like an obvious solution, giving myself a couple of days or a week. Maybe that's too generous. I don't know yet. I'll figure it out. But I think that that could be an appropriate way to make sure that I'm not spending the amount of time that I have in the past questing after something that hasn't actually been meaningful to me. This next takeaway is kind of a no-brainer, but it is really up there in terms of importance. If you have a small wardrobe like I do, I have 32 items for the entire year, and you're not buying replacements, then it is incredibly important to maintain your wardrobe. I recently made a video about laundry hacks and what I do to maintain my clothing, and those tips, along with more recently learning how to dye my own clothing, have prevented me from actually needing to make purchases. This next takeaway is something that I have known even before this last year of not buying clothing and before lockdown, but it's something that I think both of those things have really helped to cement for me. And it is that taking care of myself physically has a bigger impact on how I feel than what I wear. Things like exercising, going for walks, getting a haircut, eating healthier food, trimming my nails, or I wish I were kidding, but sometimes I'm just lazy and I need to take a shower. Those things need to be in place if I am to feel good about myself. And I think that the pandemic has really helped to sort of, again, cement that for myself and make me aware of how important that is. So I think the larger takeaway is not to allow clothing to be a substitute for self-care. This last takeaway I feel is going to be somewhat controversial, but it is that decluttering may not always be the best option. I know, who am I, what is going on, but hear me out. So right before the pandemic hit, I decluttered my wardrobe and I was going to recycle some of those items when all hell broke loose, everything shut down. And so those items of clothing lived in the trunk of my car for several months. And then when summer rolled around, I found myself without really any summery tops, and I didn't want to buy things online and then possibly have to return them in some capacity in person, maybe at a post office. I didn't want to put myself and other people at risk. And so I decided I was going to use what I had. I went to my trunk and I repaired some of those items, and now they are back happily in my wardrobe. Do they look 100% brand new? Absolutely not, but they are doing what I need them to do for now. I also recently went back and watched some of my decluttering videos over the years, some clothing decluttering videos, including my very first video where I decluttered my wardrobe from 118 items down to 50. And while I was looking at the pile of decluttered clothing, I kind of thought to myself that some of those things actually look nice. Now, I'm not saying that I regret those decisions. I'm not longing for those items. And if I had them again in front of me, I probably wouldn't purchase them again. But if I had some of them tucked away in a box in my house, I might pull them down from time to time. Maybe. I think that's also easy to say in theory, but on the other hand, I do want to acknowledge that I am very happy with my wardrobe and where it's at today. I've honed my style over several years, and now I have a wardrobe that is tailored for me and my lifestyle, and I am very happy that it limits the decisions that I have to make. It's just perfect for me. But I do kind of want to acknowledge that not shopping for a year, as well as the pandemic, have kind of, I think, heightened for me a little bit, and I'm sure for many other people, a sense of needing to sort of be more self-reliant and use what we already have. So if you are in the process of decluttering your wardrobe, maybe you're torn between whether or not to get rid of some items, if you think you might come back to them again, be kind to yourself. Take things slow. Try a capsule wardrobe. That is not at all the worst idea in the world. And many times, or I guess every time, the most sustainable clothing decision we can make is to wear what we already own. Okay, those are my takeaways from a year of not buying clothing. As I mentioned, part of that time was an accident, but it's still been an incredibly valuable experience, and I plan to take it through the end of this calendar year and maybe even further. It's really helped to reframe how I think about shopping, and hopefully some of these lessons can be useful to you as well if you are also trying to change your shopping habits. That's going to be it for me. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.